Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Barbados schoolboy Adrian Manning is back. His newly honed football skills may finally be the key to securing popularity.
I can do this. Demolish the entire field and score the goal.
What happens when you finally get the thing you've been craving? Is it worth the journey to get there? Is it worth the sacrifices to keep it?
I never thought popularity could be so hazardous.
Adrian at Last, the much anticipated sequel to Adrian at Large, now available.
So, Adrian, at last, you saw those questions? What happens when you're faced with popularity? The author of that book is Mario Herbert. Mario, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados.
Your energy in the morning is something else. Well, it's good to see you. You've written books because you think the Caribbean experience is already such colorful experiences that they have to be written about. Tell me a little bit about this book, Mario at Last.
Yes, please, Adrian at Last. And,
Adrian at Last, yes.
Yeah, so we would have introduced Adrian in Adrian at Large, and it was very well received, and I kept getting people asking, when are we going to get more? And it sort of felt right that if I have shown you this person fighting so hard to get popularity, the logical next step is to actually give it to him and see what happens when one gets the thing that one believes will be their salvation. Does it live up? And I don't think it's going to be spoilery to say that it doesn't.
No, because the trilogy continues. You're writing a series of short stories, and out of those short stories, you're living the experience of an Adrian at Large now. You're looking at Adrian at Last. You're looking at a 14-year-old boy. So you're talking about the teenage years here. And those are obviously usually very turbulent times for young boys. So who is Adrian, and what is it about Adrian's quest for popularity that you think we can learn from?
Well, that is a larger question that is answered throughout the series of books in terms of what really drives him. But in terms of Adrian at Last, what is happening here is that Adrian is a nobody. And there are disadvantages to being a nobody. So I think especially those years, everyone has this natural desire to be somebody, to be a person that everybody knows, right? So his goal really is really to find some form of worth in other person's eyes.
Mm-hmm. How does one not pour oneself into one's writing when one is writing fiction? Is that easy or difficult to do?
Well, for me, it has never been a problem because everything I write, there is a little of me in it. So I am a firm believer that life has so many sharp, so many great experiences that for fiction, I don't think that I need to necessarily go too far out of real life.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a little bit of Mario in Adrian at Last, and I'm also a firm believer that we can learn from other people's experiences too. So in terms of having other people I know that have shared very, very sharp experiences, I sort of work all of those things inside of what I write.
Mm-hmm. So Adrian at Last is a little bit of Mario. Adrian at Last, as you said, is seeking popularity. He's looking for acceptance, perhaps sometimes in the wrong places, perhaps doing some of the wrong things, and perhaps also encountering some of the right things that he didn't quite recognize to be the right things at that particular point in time because he's only a teenager. And so how long is the story? And I know this is just book two. Is it book two of a trilogy? And what was your plan?
Well, it is book two of four. And there is actually a teaser in the rear of the book for what is going to come in Adrian Loggerheads. So yes, please, it is two of four. Right, but in terms of the book layout, well, it is not a huge book, so I always aim to make things potent.
Yes.
So it isn't drawn out. It is three short stories, and the three short stories, they are designed that they can work, stand like, all right, I can read a story on its own as its own thing, and it is potent and it works in that way. However, when you read them one after the next, they do tell one cohesive tale. So you see how he becomes popular in the first story. You sort of see the advantages of it in story number two, and by the time you reach story number three, you are like 1 week into him being popular, and the cracks start to show. So the
Yes.
disadvantages become really evident by the time you reach the third story.
How difficult is it for you really to write, though? I mean, for us, for me, use me. If I'm writing, you write an essay and you're done, but you're writing a book. How do you keep it straight in your head? And how does it all flow out of you onto the page?
Well, it's actually pretty easy for me, I have found. Maybe partially because there is a little of me there, and I am a storyteller naturally.
Okay.
I'm someone I love to speak. I love to engage persons. So it kind of flows naturally. But then in terms of writing a series, there is this very rewarding thing where you write Adrian at large, and then when you come to write Adrian at last, you're not exactly starting from scratch. So even though that this book is written in a way that you don't have to have read Adrian at large in order to fully
Right.
enjoy it, it is still built upon something that would have been created before. So now you are making the world richer. So what happens then is that every new book, it is making the world you have built richer. There are things that were established before that work really well that you can kind of launch off of that. So I would actually say that it has been easy. And if anything, the challenge was more me making myself stop and say, all right, I think four should be where we end Adrian's story.
So we know on the second book of Adrian's story, we had Adrian at large. Now we have Adrian at last. And at the end of Adrian at last, you get the teaser for the next stage of Adrian's journey before we head into the fourth book. So where can we get copies of the book so that we can see what Adrian's been up to in Adrian at last?
Well, you can get the book right now at Dave's bookstore, and I have upgraded somewhat. So there is also MarioHerbert.com,
All right.
which you can order the book directly from me if you wanted to go that route, off of the site. The site lets you get a sneak peek. So if you wanted to kind of start reading it, you can actually do that. And then the site will also keep you up to date about other places that it can be bought. So
Right.
as soon as it goes live upon Amazon and those other sources, those links will also be placed upon the site. So right now you can obtain it from me or from Dave's
Days.
bookstore, and more are going to come.
All right, marioherbert.com is the website you can go to learn more, to read more, to feel more about Adrian and Adrian at large, now Adrian at last, next to come soon, real soon. Mario, thank you again for joining us here on Morning Barbados. All the best, and keep writing. Don't ever stop. I don't think you will ever stop, because you seem like that kind of a man who likes to write, who's just going to write. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All the best.
I thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome indeed. Adrian at last. At last it's available. Go to the website marioherbert.com to find out more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.